Brother. Here we go. Welcome to the show, brother. It's an absolute pleasure and honor. It's mine to have you on. I appreciate it, man, across all those seasons. Mate, welcome.
Yeah, well, I'm honored to be here, man. Every time someone reaches out and wants to chat with me, I mean, I'm very humbled by it, right? I'm just a guy up here swinging kettlebells, and people want to hear what I got to talk about. It's kind of a wild thing, but I'm always up to meet new people and reach different people. And if something I say offends them, sorry. If something I say inspires them, even better.
Amazing, man. Exactly. Everybody has many pages to their book, right? And we all have different perspective on things and stories to tell. And I just think if you create that space for people and just be open minded and offer people an open arm, there's usually people have some cool shit to say.
Oh yeah, at the end of the day, I think most people want the same thing, man. They just want to be judged on their actions, on their
Yeah.
character, and give respect, receive respect. Anybody that gives me respect, I don't care what your background is, where you come from, you got my utmost respect. But as soon as you go on the other way around, I'm not gonna reciprocate.
Hmm. Yep. Shake hands, peace and happiness. I'm out.
Yep.
So I'm gonna knock you with a pretty big question to start off with, mainly because I'm interested in the answer. What's your purpose, dude?
Well, it took me a long time to discover that, honestly. I spent many a years just doing what people do, just being a useless eater, waking up, working 9 to 5 jobs I didn't like, paying for shit that I didn't need, just in that matrix, whatever you want to call it, right? And
Fuck
then,
yeah, man.
like a lot of people, I hit kind of a rock bottom phase, and it pushed me on to my purpose, which I say it on my bio. I'm not in this industry that I'm in to feed egos and build six packs and all that stuff. I'm not interested in that. I'm here to build a stronger, happier, and healthier human race. Just 1 hour at a time with people. If that helps them get out of a darker place like I experienced, or maybe they're in a great place and it just makes it greater. It's having these connections with people that add something positive into this world, instead of just kind of doing what I was doing before, just your
Mm.
random ditch digger jobs that really didn't mean a lot. It was just kind of just we need that. That's an important part of our society. But for me, it didn't feed any passion in me doing that kind of stuff. And what I do now, I love it. And if people can't tell, then they're not paying attention.
That's it, man. Yeah, that's it, man. And you've got to realize that, or you got to think about that in those times where you're like, you know what? Maybe I should just do a 9 to 5, or maybe I should just go fucking be a bitch boy somewhere and just cash that paycheck and kind of try and switch your brain off and cruise to the end, right? But that's not the
That's
point.
no.
We want to get to the end all battered and bruised, right? Skidding around the corner and just thinking, what the fuck just happened? That was a wacky ride, right? And you
Yeah.
want to do things that end up firing you the hell up. And
Hmm.
it's always so inspiring for me personally to see people do that, no matter what they do, right? They could be a painter, they could be like
Exactly.
laying tarmac. I don't give a fuck. Like if someone has got a skip in their step, you can see it in their eyes, the way they conduct themselves. It's such a beautiful thing, man. And I think people need to do more and more of it, right? Like we define success, or like historically speaking, we define success as the money in your pocket, right? But we don't actually ask about that emotional intelligence as well
Absolutely.
of how happy you are. Like, are you content? Do you feel joy? Like, do you do shit that you want to do? Are you passionate about it? How's your family life and all that stuff? And though, if we can redefine that, fuck, man, it's gonna be so cool.
That's right. And being a coach over the last 13 years, I've worked with all walks of life, right? I've worked with people that are saving money out the yang just to be able to come in and get a session, and then I have people that money that they're giving to me is just peanuts. And I hate to say it, but some of the unhappiest, unfulfilled people that I've worked with in my time are they have more money than they'll ever know what to do with, man. I mean, it doesn't buy happiness, man. It just does not. It period. It makes life easier a lot of ways, but it just doesn't. I'm not saying that money isn't something that I'd like to have a lot of, because it would be easier, right? Doing this job, it's a grind, living in an expensive ass city, just grinding every day, trying to make ends meet. But again, at the end of the day, when I'm sitting on my deathbed, I'm not going to be thinking about, the time I didn't spend in a Maserati. I'm going to be thinking about these connections that I made, and someone saying like, hey, man, we trained for a year to go on this trip to Morocco. And before we started training, I can barely move. And during that trip, the tour guide had to keep up with me. I mean, that made a difference, right? And that kind of stuff is powerful, and it's not a sellout or a cop out for me not wanting to be a multimillionaire and hustling in that direction. It's just different, man. I'm a small town guy. I'm a simple guy. Simple things make me happy, and helping make someone's life better through swings and get ups of all things, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
It's pretty powerful.
Absolutely, man. I speak a lot about fitness being the catalyst, right? We help people change their lives, right, by teaching them how to air squat and throw a kettlebell above their head, and that's it. We're kind of that guy who rocks up with a baseball cap on, with like shorts or trackies. We could look a little bit odd in wherever we go. Way too much caffeine has always been consumed, right? And then we swear at work, and it's one of those really weird professions, but I think it's so needed because it is that catalyst. It's that first domino that gets knocked down, and then we got the medical profession, right? And we got everything else that comes after us. But we are the kind of like that first line, and I kind of see it as like, listen, guys, we got to hold this fucking line. We are
Especially
seeing
nowadays.
people, we're speaking to them, we're helping them like move around, like this is it, and then we can then refer on if needs be, and then they've got to do their work, right? It's our job to take the horse to water, but it's the horse's job to drink.
Yeah, and that's the tricky bit about all this stuff, right? I mean, if you're lucky, you get to see a client 3 hours a week, right? Three times a week, right? And if you're super lucky, they come 5 times a week, right? And that's rare, especially, it's not cheap to take on personal training, right? But it's all those hours when they're not with you. You're trying to instill some discipline and all that stuff, and that 3 hours a week that they carry off to the rest of that time. And what is there, 164 more hours left in the week or whatnot? What are they doing during that time, right? So it's a hard thing to do with minimal time to make people make maximal changes, but it's a fun fucking mission to try.
Here's a question, especially with your military background, that I'm super, super interested in this. What does leadership mean to you?
Well, I would say that's changed many times over the years, as different phases of my life. But it's, if somebody's having a problem within your circle and you are in charge, it's you first. It's taking that ownership, that what am I doing wrong? Why is my team not succeeding? Not fucking Billy, or Sally. It all starts with you as the leader, right? And then also, obviously, you have to be a good follower, right? You have to know when to check your ego. I mean, there's times where you can be steadfast on your stuff, but you have to take input from all angles, and you have to evaluate that. You can't just be like, I'm in charge. I've worked for people like that, and that doesn't work. They get no respect, zero respect. But the guys or gals out there that are, they're like, hey, that was on me that we failed this thing here, right? I'm gonna see what I can do to get better, and you guys help me help you. And I think that's kind of leadership, and I'm lucky to be around some really good leaders in my life right now that have turned this gym that we're into as it's a family. It's bottom line. It's like we see people as people, not dollar bills, right? A lot of gyms, it's just like, there's a $100 bill right there. That's a $100 bill right there. No. We see people that we treat well that want to give back to our cause, which is great.
Hell yeah, man. I think that's what we need in the world, right? We need more things that puts the human back in humanity, right? Like we see these, I think the social skills, like the small things, right? The very small things have just been forgotten. It's never mind I mate, you're right. As you walk past someone in the street, it's like, well, I don't need anything from them. It's like it's got nothing to do with give and take, right?
Yeah.
It's got
Yeah.
nothing to do with that. It's just trying to pass something on. If we always pay something forward, like by that very definition, it will always come back. You know, karma, I think, is a thing, but it needs everybody to buy into it.
Oh yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly. I've been a piece of shit in this life, a complete piece of shit, and I've been a complete saint. I've been both. And the more time I spend on being a saint, the better things happen in my life. The more time
Oh
I
yeah.
spend on being a piece of shit, the more shit that happens in my life. Period. I've been on both ends of it. I've been as high as a kite on life. I've been one step away from the grave. Yeah, and I think that helps some people relate to me as a coach and as a person because first of all, I'm not afraid to talk about it, that I have struggles, but also it's like, well, that guy's got struggles. That a lot of times they'll look at a coach or something that's got a decent build, that's strong, they're like, oh, he was just born that way. He's got good genes. Not me, man. If I quit working out for 3 months, I'd be right back up to 250, miserable. It takes constant dedication and it takes constant consistency, and it's not easy to maintain fitness, but it's the most self-respect that you can show to yourself, is taking care of your vessel. You cannot respect yourself any more than what you put in it, how you treat it. That's it.
Wow. That I love that. Like the vessel. Why'd you use the word vessel?
Well, I don't, maybe it goes back to a spiritual thing, maybe, I don't know, but, this is a gift, man. And I'm lucky I won the lottery and I was born in the United States of America where I have endless opportunities to take this vessel and make something of myself. I can choose to eat fast food and drink a fifth of whiskey and smoke marbles every night. That's easy. That's fun. I'm doing that, right? But or you choose to take this vessel and you treat it relatively well. You give back. My way of giving back is training people, and you respect it. And it's the ultimate form of self-respect, is taking care of your body and your mind, which is my hardest part, honestly. It's real easy for me to lift weights if I spend as much time focused on how I swing a kettlebell or how I snatch a kettlebell or how I lift a bar on how do I make my mindset stronger, I would literally be unstoppable. But it all takes work, all of it.
Agreed, man. Like I can also relate to that really heavily. Like 100%. Like you can throw anything you want in my body, it will break and it will fucking heal and I'll get back up and I keep going. I'm one of those dumb people, that will just keep going until you put a bullet through my head and I'll probably get back up again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But with the whole mindset, it's like sometimes you got to be able to look after that, and looking after that sometimes looks like taking the foot off the gas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
know the benefits of working out for our mental state. Obviously, it's our positive vice, right? Sometimes we need to fall victim to our vice, but we need to be able to channel that in a constructive avenue rather than a destructive one. But then sometimes you got to take yourself out as well, right? Because we can push ourselves and try and be that whole quote unquote disciplined, dedicated individual. And you've got to be able to be like, all right, am I just grinding myself for grinding myself's sake? Or am I getting something from this and I just don't want to do it? And I'm the first person. I'm definitely the first one of like, oh, I've always been a harder worker. I don't have anything naturally. I'll fucking train 3 days, 3 times a day, kick myself in the face, etc., etc. It's like, Alex, come on, man, you can't be doing this. It's like, would you allow
Yeah.
somebody else to do that? And I was like, oh no, I wouldn't. I'd stop them. You're like,
That's
well,
right.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's like, that's one of the tricky parts about all of this. There's a dichotomy to all this stuff, right? You know, at first, some people, it takes extreme amounts of discipline to get to the gym, right? And then that switch flips, and then it takes discipline to get the hell out of it, right? You know, to take a day off, right? So there's these two things that happen sometimes. And then that mindset stuff, we're inundated with just all of self-helps and all these things, right? So a lot of people, they decide to get on that mission and they take on too much, right? You know, instead of like baby steps, like me included, you know, like for instance, starting a morning routine to try and shake up things, right? Um, Me, when I just got my morning routine, I'm like, okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my phone in my shoe. When the alarm goes off, I'm going to get up and go walk 5 miles. I'm going to come back and I'm going to do 50 push-ups and 25 pull-ups. And then I'm going to meditate. I'm going to take a cold shower. And then I'm going to do this and I'm going to journal, you know, and then the next thing you know, you get all up in your head because you miss one of those things, right? And now it's like become the opposite of what you were trying to accomplish in the first place, right? So for me now, my routine, like right when I wake up in the morning, I don't, you know, right when my alarm goes off, I have a little lamp by my bed. I turn it on so it hits me in the face. I put on my headphones, you know, and then I do that. I have that Wim Hof app. You know, I don't know if you know of Wim Hof, the Iceman that does all the cold showers and all that stuff. Well, he's got an app and it puts you through these breathing exercises. So I go through 3 cycles of his breath work, and then I do a 5-minute wake up meditation. I go down, I take a cold shower, bam, you know, just start my day with intention. It was 3 little things, man. You know what I mean? Versus laying in bed, hitting snooze, you know, picking up the phone, checking out Instagram, getting pissed about the news, or blah, 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 blah. You know, a lot of people to start to kickstart that stuff, they just need to start small, you know, in that mindset game, because if you try and bite too much, it becomes counterproductive, and then you end up beating yourself up on the other end of things.
Yep. Yeah, you got to set yourself,
Much like
right?
the gym.
Yeah, you got to set yourself first before the world ends up setting your mindset for you, right? Like too many
Yeah.
people roll over, and the first thing it's on their phone, their emails, their Instagram, their Facebook, the fucking tick, whatever it is, right? And you're
Yeah.
like, what are you doing, dude? Like, you've not even checked in with yourself yet. You don't even know whether you're, oh man, I'm so sore, like my knees are blown out. And you're like, okay, great, maybe I ain't gonna squat later, right?
Yeah.
It's like, all right,
Right.
get
Yeah.
some water on board, move around a little bit, you know, see the sunlight
Mm-hmm.
that's outside. Or if you're up before
Yeah.
it, go see the sunrise, you know? It's like
That's what
just,
I'll be doing tomorrow morning.
oh, I
I,
love it, man.
I, I get up once a week and hike up this trail, and so I'll get up at 4 in the morning. I'll hike up this trail in the dark. I'll have a little coffee, and then I'll sit on this ledge overlooking the mountain and the lake. And sun comes up. I drink my coffee, and then I hike on down, come home, and then go to work in the afternoon. You know, it's it's the most powerful. It's like 10 talk therapy sessions in one hike.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah. And you know what the funny thing is? Every time I'll do something like that, right? On the way up, you're hating it, right? You're like, this is bullshit. Why am I doing this? This is a dumb idea. Like, I'm tired, my back hurts. Like, oh, what about this? And you end up getting through that like mental anguish, right? You're having a fist fight with yourself. It's kind of like
Yeah.
you're in the arena of the
Yeah.
gladiators and you're the only gladiator there. And everybody's watching
Yeah.
you kick the shit out of yourself, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then when you get to the top, you see either the
Mm.
view, you see the sunrise, you feel what do you feel, and you're like, wow, okay, this is it. And when you're
Yeah.
coming back down, and for the rest of the day, you're just riding this high,
Yep. Yep.
and you've
It's
got to be able
wonderful,
to do
man.
it, man. Like I think
Yeah.
self-induced suffering to an extent, of course, like you can take everything to the
Mm-hmm.
extreme, and we're not talking about that. But self-induced suffering is so important, man.
Yeah. I just started a book today called The Comfort Crisis. And it's basically going into that, right? You know, we've become so comfort addicted with our self-driving cars and our air conditioning and our our food delivered to our house and all this stuff. And, we're just so comfortable. And, we weren't meant to be comfortable, man. We were meant to go out and hunt and, put on miles every morning trying to eat, and then you go out and you kill something and you're like, well, shit, I'm too far away from the camp. So let's move the camp here because this thing's too heavy. And then you eat and then you suffer. But you get rewarded for your efforts, right? Nowadays, there's not enough suffering, I think, like you say, within reason, like missing a meal, simple shit, but it's just so comfortable that people are creating discomfort in things that don't matter. Instead of hiking up a hill or saying, today I'm only going to eat one meal. I'm going to feel what hunger feels like. That way the next time I eat, I respect that food that's laid out in front of me. Right? Or getting up 2 hours earlier and just taking a walk, right? You don't want to do it, but it's going to help you grow somewhere else versus just this pancake life of just everything so easy and just catered to me and given to me. And I think there's a lot of people that lack a lot of happiness in life because of that. They're blaming it on everything else. But I think maybe, in this book, it's kind of like, I just got into it, but it's kind of verifying my thoughts I've had over the last few years that, yeah, man, we're just too spoiled, we've got things too easy. Yep. And so we create problems by blaming somebody else or getting behind politics or some stupid bullshit that means absolutely nothing in the big picture. You're just putting all your energy into it when you can put that energy into going on a hike or put that energy into taking a week off of work and putting yourself out somewhere that's uncomfortable and seeing how you do, test your mettle, or go to a workout, whatever. Just put yourself in something that's outside of your norm, see what kind of rewards you get.
I agree, man. I think it's a form of meditation, right? Just kind of putting yourself in that environment, that internal environment, and just having that conflict with yourself. I'm a big fan of these. Another reason why, or one of the reasons why this thing is called the Nomadic Podcast, right? One is because I'm dotting around and I've not really had a base for like 8 years. But the second one is I'm a big fan of these like nomadic trips, right? And I call it getting ill. And you kind of get mentally ill to cleanse yourself, so then you come back refreshed, right? There's probably someone out there that can come up with a better term, but it's just something I've kind of coined it with. And you just disappear, right? And you do what you got to do. You go on hikes, you don't, you sit down, you write, you meditate, you work out, you don't work out, you fast, you don't fast, you do whatever you got to do. You kind of drop off the grid and check in with yourself, check out with the world to check in with yourself. And you end up, or the last one that I went on, you end up hating parts of yourself, right? And I think that has a really negative connotation. And a lot of people will be like, oh, you got to love yourself. And I'm like, true, but also you can love something that you hate because usually polarities are quite close together. So you kind of want to kill parts of your personality and parts of yourself and leave that in the past as a past version of yourself, right? And evolve and change and grow into something else. And you start kind of going through this painful process and this like growing pains, right? And you start hearing things, you might go to some weird places. It's going to get odd, right? Just make sure you're safe doing it, of course. And then when you come back, you feel unbelievable. And I feel like I go through these periods in every fucking workout I do. Like working out is who I am. It's part of what I do. Like sports, training, I don't care. I love moving around. However, I'm so nervous and anxious before every workout I have ever done. Like I'm taking 5 trips to the bathroom just to take a piss. And it's like air's coming out of me because I'm so nervous. Like I want to throw up. Like I don't want to do this. It hurts. It's uncomfortable. I don't want to do it. I want to go home. I want to eat sweets. I want to watch telly, listen to music. I don't want to do it. Right.
Yeah.
And you'll go through that stage during a workout. And when you finish, you're like, I am now a different person. I have learned from those things that we've had fist fights with, right? With myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's honestly one of the most beautiful things to watch as a coach. If you see in one person or a whole array of people in a room kind of go through this mental anguish and you're there guiding them through it. And at the end, you give them a fist bump, a high five, or a hug, and you're just like, well done, mate. And you just see
It's
it
the
in
best.
their eyes. They're like, wow, what the fuck
I
was that?
did it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
did it. Exactly.
yeah, 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 yeah. I tell that to people all the time. It's like some of my all-time greatest workouts are ones I tried to talk myself out of doing.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, if I had to break down my top 5 workouts out of all these workouts I've done, I bet those 5 are ones I was like, I ain't that.
Yeah.
And then
I'm not
I
doing that.
started warming up, started, to fight my inner demons, and then get that first lather going. And then it's like, it's on, going to a different place. That's what I love about kettlebell training, man. It doesn't seem like much, and to some people it ain't, right? But to me, it's like the martial arts of weightlifting. There's so much technique involved to do it well, right? I mean, to do it really well. You can fake the shit all day. Like the regular hardstyle swing, you could have 10 people line up and they'd all look damn near the same.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one in there that's getting all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're fully planking, they're using their breath, they're using their rooting, so like when I'm working out, it's every set that I go up to, even though I've done 10 million swings, it's like, this is going to be the best set I've ever done. Mm-hmm. And then I'll pick a goal for that set. It's like, okay, it's my glutes. I'm going to make sure, so during that process, I am checked out, man. I am 100% in the zone. And it's, if for nothing else, that hour of that is, is healing in so many ways.
Hell yeah, man. I think there's so much benefit for something that forces you to forget about everything else in life, right? Mm-hmm. And you have to hone in on that, whether that's a kettlebell swing, whether that's running, although you can
whatever, like you say.
Exactly, whatever it is. For me, it's weightlifting. Snatch and clean and jerk. Because if I think about something else, I'm missing a lift. I'm not getting that lift. There is no fucking way in hell I'm making that lift. You know what I mean? So I think it's so important. We need something, whether it's painting, fucking whatever you got to do something that takes yourself out of your own head and kind of puts you in this like flow state, right? It sounds really hippy dippy, but do something for yourself, man.
Yeah. And it's, it's getting away from these things, right?
Yeah.
That book, like I said, I mean, I'm only a couple chapters in, and he was mentioning something that there's not a lot of self-discovery these because we're never truly bored, right? Yep. We never have, like you were saying, when you go on these little getaways, you're bored, man. You have no option but to let your brain start thinking, and you can't hide here. Yeah. And too many people, man, when shit starts coming up, they just hide here, right? So they never have time to just sit with themselves, be bored, and be good at being bored. Mm-hmm. And instead of finding that distraction, sit with yourself. And it's hard, man. Like you say, man, when I sit with myself long enough, I'm on these hikes and I'm out there all by myself. I mean, I'm like hitting a trailhead at 5 a.m. It's dark for an hour and a half. There's bears and cougars and shit everywhere. And I'm all by myself walking with a headlamp and just hoping I don't get eaten. But I figure if I go out trying to fight a bear or a cougar, that's perfect. But anywho, during these walks, man, I'm 100% present, bro. I mean, I'm like, swing. There's no headphones in. There's no phones. It's just like, I mean, I'll stop and take pictures and do these things because I love the beauty of nature and I share about it because I want people to get in it. Mm-hmm. But in a nutshell, majority of that time is just and thoughts start coming up, thoughts about relationships I've screwed up, thoughts about this I've done, thoughts about that I've done. And like you say, it's not about hating yourself, but it's about being real with yourself, and I've had a hard time over the years being 100% real with myself, a lot of finger pointing, she's this or she's that. But, a lot of times every failed relationship or whether it be a friendship or a romantic relationship, if I really boiled it down, a lot of it's on this guy, So, and it's tough, but it's necessary. If you're ever going to get to that point where you can truly be there for somebody, you got to be truly there for yourself, with no hiding. That's why I think a lot of times people that go on ayahuasca journeys and they they do the psilocybin stuff and the MDMA and all that stuff where they really choose to get out of their selves, and they have to really do some internal soul searching. They're getting better benefits than popping SSRIs or whatever the hell you call those things, depression meds and all that stuff, which I've been on for 20 some years, right? Which I'm weaning off of now, which is nice because I've actually taken some steps to really conquer these demons, especially in the last year. But yeah, if you don't sit with yourself, if you don't be honest with yourself, and you don't look inward, and you're always pointing outward, you're never going to get better. Maybe for a day, maybe for a month, but that shit's going to come back until you truly fight that lion. It's what it is.
100%, man. Like, I cannot agree with you more there. And like, I'm a poet, right? I write things down, I put it in a book, and I throw it out there. And if you read it, great. If you don't, great. I don't give a fuck. But this is kind of my own personal journey, right? And so I spent a lot of time thinking about these concepts, and I genuinely believe like heaven and hell is already within us.
Yeah, man.
It's like, which, and the God and the devil and whatever, it's that good and the bad demon on your shoulder, the angel and that little devil. It's within you. If the four, what is it, the four most common atoms in the universe are also the four most common atoms within us. We are the universe and the universe is us. We are everything and nothing at the same time. I think,
oh yeah,
if you spend enough time dissecting that and dissecting yourself, you're like, oh, I am not and also the problem at the same time. I was like, well, that means I also need to do some fucking work. You know what I mean? I was like, right, well, let's do some work then. And yeah, man, like it's hard to convey to people because it's really hard, and you can't be like, here's a 5-step process to do and everything's going to be fine, right? Because it's all individualized. You've got to go through it, and it's going to take time. Man, it's like you can see the world in a different dimension once it's done.
Yeah, I have my moments of peace, and I have my moments of pure hell, but luckily over the years, I've turned most of it to the peace side, right?
Amazing.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever a point where you're going to be free of your demons ever,
Fuck no, mate.
But you can definitely put them in a cage and keep them locked up, with the right tools, and it's the same thing about like being a fighter, or being a military, you put that thing in a cage, but you don't lock them up forever, because when it comes down to it, if I need to fight for my life or to turn into an animal, that's a flip of a hat, man. My game is on, but it's learning how to keep that put away and be a positive light. And if you need to be that protector, that aggressive type of person, that is still in there, but it's not controlling the day. It's just there in case of a break the glass situation.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think that's what human beings need to be. Like, I think we need to be civilized enough to be able to keep that behind closed doors, but also we need something behind that closed door just in case, because something might happen just in case. We can't be these completely dependent living things, right? Otherwise we wouldn't be the apex predator, right?
That's right.
That's right. Before Zoom kicks us out, I want to give you 3 questions, because these are the 3 questions I always end on, right? Number 1, what's the greatest piece of life advice you ever received?
The greatest piece of life, I would say, I'll try and be quick. Over in Mogadishu, I was sitting on this little berm, and this old ass Marine came over, like old salty guy. You can tell this guy's been there and back 1,000 times. And he sat down next to me, and he said, son, I want you to try and catch as many sunrises as you can. He goes, because one day it's going to be the last one you ever see. So, he's like, try and get up before the sun, see the sunrise, and appreciate that shit, because that's one of the most beautiful things you'll ever experience. And don't take that shit for granted,
Fuck, that's beautiful, man. Yeah. What's the worst piece of life advice you've ever received?
suck it up, buttercup, right. That's how I was raised. Don't show emotions. Don't cry. Don't let yourself be vulnerable. Don't tap into your feminine side. Your nurturing side. Just be just a savage man. That's not the answer. You need to be vulnerable from time to time. You need to be strong and steadfast, but you also need to be able to tap into that vulnerable side of yourself. I think.
Agreed. What's 3 words you'd tell your younger self?
I would tell myself, let's see, be more worldly as far as education, everything else is concerned, right? I would tell myself, never quit anything. I quit one thing growing up, and it was the worst thing I ever done. Without continuing to fight on. Like never quit. Be forced to quit maybe, but don't do it on your terms. Make it be somebody else's, right? Number 3, I guess just gratitude. Just find gratitude in even the smallest of things. If you can't find gratitude in what you have, you're never going to get what you want.
That's amazing, man. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
Brother, it's been my pleasure, man. We should do this again sometime.
Yeah, anytime, man. Like I said, man, I'm always open for a conversation. Always.
Sounds great, brother. I appreciate it so much. And I'll come see you soon over in the States.
That'd be great. I'd like to do the return. I could do some traveling.
Yeah, fuck it. Let's do it.
All right.
Speak soon, man. Thank you. Bye, everybody.